Charlie Crist speaks to South Florida gay community on what is at stake against Governor Ron DeSantis. Yesterday, we reported that Congressman Charlie Crist came to Wilton Manors to accept the endorsement of all the major LGBTQ civil rights organizations in Florida. The Executive Directors of HRC, Equality Florida, SAVE, and the Florida LGBTQ Democratic Caucus, representing all 21 chapters across Florida, all introduced former Florida Governor Crist. This was unique and historic for many reasons. The leading LGBTQ political organizations had all come together to say in unison how critical this moment is for our community and for LGBTQ civil rights. It was unique that they were endorsing a former Republican governor during the Obama years that changed party affiliations as the GOP began to change, eventually becoming Trump MAGA Republicans. Also historic because the candidate for governor came to the epicenter of LGBTQ Florida, Wilton Drive in Fort Lauderdale, to unconditionally stand up for the queer community. Finally, historic and unique for a former Florida governor to put out an LGBTQ manifesto of what he plans to do to restore LGBTQ civil rights in the state of Florida. It was a set of moments we have never seen before. Perhaps it took Ron DeSantis to propel the moment, but it has nevertheless arrived. The election is close. Just today, FiveThirtyEight reports that the polling average of the top 6 polls on the Florida governor's race has it 49.9% for DeSantis and 43.8% for Crist. And that is a 2-point improvement for Crist in September alone. At the press conference that was covered by all major media, I was able to ask the first question. A simple one. With 1.5 million LGBTQ Floridians, what are you asking them to do between now and the election?
Congressman Crist, Florida is one of the largest LGBTQ communities in the country.
Yes.
So as we approach this election, an estimated 1.5 million LGBTQ Floridians, what specifically are you asking them, this incredible endorsement, what specifically are you asking them to do?
I'm asking them to vote. Vote like hell.
Yep.
Vote like your life depends on it.
Yep.
Because it does. Your freedom depends on it. Your life depends on it. Your respect depends upon it. Get out and vote. That is our voice. I served with John Lewis in the House of Representatives. What a wonderful man on civil rights, on voting rights, on human rights. And he used to always tell me, he would say, Charlie, your right to vote is precious. And it's so precious, it's probably sacred. With the help of God, with the help of all of you, we're going to get this done, and it'll be a new day in the Sunshine State. We're going to bring the sunshine back to Florida.
At the end of this evening's Queer News Tonight, we will show you his entire full speech discussing the LGBTQ community and the endorsements, the historic endorsements that took place. It was an interesting moment. I think the big story here yesterday was exactly what we told in this story. Not necessarily what he said, but where he was and who was embracing him. All of these organizations coming together and saying, nope, we're all on the same page. We're all going to sing out of the same hymnal. It was a strange feeling because all of these major Titan LGBT advocacy organizations are endorsing somebody who was the governor of Florida as a Republican. Who would have ever thought that we could say that? And then finally, the fact that he is doing it on Wilton Drive, unequivocally and unapologetically standing up for the LGBTQ community with his manifesto of saying, this is enough, this must be changed, and here's what I'm going to do. It was quite a historic moment.
It is, and it's also quite a message to the LGBTQ community at large here in Florida. As to what he said, get out and vote. Get out and vote. This is now sacred. We're at a point in history that we've never seen before, and I can tell you that this is going to go down in the record books. This election, and also people are going to ask, where were you and what did you do about it?
You know, I'm curious, some younger diversity voice tonight at Queer News Tonight. Is the community going to get out?
I hope so.
Yeah, I've been partnering with some members in the ballroom community, some of the youth, and I've been encouraging them to come and vote, get out and vote. I actually led an early vote with my House members, so we got out and we did it early. But I think it's very important for them to do so. I remember it was a big deal to see a politician in the African American communities. Now to see them with our LGBTQ plus community, you can tell that times are changing, and this is very, very critical for us to just make sure we're part of the change.
With a black trans woman. Shout out to you, Tatiana.
Yeah,
In the
staying
back.
right over in that corner. That's
Right,
exactly right.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure it was not accidental where they had her stand. When she came into the room, it's like, whoop, oh, wait, right over here, please. Yeah.
I'm a little concerned. I think back to the previous gubernatorial election when there was such great hope and then, of course, such massive disappointment with what happened to Gillum. And
4.5 million votes, and the Democratic candidate lost by 40,000.
Right.
Yeah.
4.5 million.
Right. I mean, so that was really frightening. And it's just this cloud of his former Republican, because didn't he also run against Scott as a Democrat?
Yes.
He didn't come to Wilton Manors. He didn't come to speak to the gay community because I don't think we were under threat at that time. But he's already lost an election running as a Democrat after having won as a Republican. It just feels very, very unsteady to me, unstable.
I come back to my my question because I heard the hope. Yeah, I hope so. I heard I've done this in my house, but broadly, your experience in the communities that you live in. You're sitting there on Friday, Saturday night at Hamburger Mary's. I mean, you're ground zero in entertainment in LGBT Florida. The people coming into Hamburger Mary's going, I'm voting. I'm going to vote.
Usually,
no matter what.
What the bar scene does is like, we'll entice people to go out and vote. Like if you go out and vote, wear your sticker to the bar, you get like a free drink or a free shot or something just to get people like out there. Because you give people something, they'll go out and do it. You know?
So you can use that as a platform?
Definitely,
You can really?
definitely.
Wow, okay.
So are you asking
are we
about
going to
the
do it?
temperature?
Yeah, that's what I'm
you're
asking.
Checking the temperature.
That's exactly right. That's what I'm doing.
You want me to give my honest?
Of course.
The temperature is cold because of politics and what has gone on, and because of the letdown. I can tell you that the temperature is it's not. I sent out a request during primary election and got a lot of feedback, and the feedback honestly was, we don't care. And and I'm praying that people understand the historical significance, maybe because some people don't know the history or what's at stake, or they're not educated. I'm not sure what it is, but the temperature is pretty
You're
cold.
millennial? Is that?
85. I'm 85.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
millennial. Yeah.
So for millennials, and to say as clearly as you said, there are people, Orlando Gonzalez at SAVE and Nadine Smith at Equality Florida right now is going, hand me the knife and, at this moment.
But they need to hear it.
But they absolutely do need to hear it. You know, we've watched unprecedented issues in 2022. We have done like 9,742 stories in Queer News Tonight about what's going on in Florida. What's it going to take? Why are we not responding?
So I believe, and I'm very big on energy, I'm very big on chakras, and I believe that things are happening exactly as they are supposed to. Unfortunately, we do have a ton of people who are not educated. They do not share this same concern. And they say you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. All we can do is lead and do our part. And I believe that until everyone wakes up and everyone is cleared and we're all focused on the one message of love, that things will continue to happen until there is change. That's the unfortunate. And so maybe leading with that, these things that are happening are going to continue to happen until we do what we were supposed to do when we got here.
And one last related question. Wilton Manors has a very centric, older, white, gay man perspective of Wilton Drive in terms of color. Is the people of color, regardless of the representation of the color, is there much excitement in those communities? Do you think? Is there?
Mm-hmm. As far as I can speak for the Black community as a whole is yes, very. The temperature is hot. Like this is hot. My dad works in politics. He actually works with Charlie Crist, and they are putting all of their energy into this. Now, as far as the Black queer community goes, I think because of the layers, because of
Closeted.
there's just, and there's no central unit for us as far as safe space goes, as far as where we gather goes. So you tackle a whole heap of problems that just, it's not a clear solution to how do you impact this community. And that is actually one of the things that Impulse is trying to do, me as the vice president of Impulse. And it's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult to rally people who are, there's just not, like I said, a centralized theme. There's not a space. There's not a haven to go and be like this.
And you'll agree?
Does that hold true? I mean, you're talking about South Florida specifically, or is it different maybe in Orlando or maybe in Tampa? Is it different?
It's different in South Florida. It's different in Florida in general.
Okay.
We're not Atlanta, where you have a Black population. We're not DC. We're not New York. We're not Chicago.
Right.
We're a melting pot. And when you don't have a centralized location, if you don't have centralized safe spaces, then you kind of just have a scattering of everything.
Well, I hope many of our LGBT leadership is listening to you, because it sounds like we have some challenges ahead that we've got to address. We have 7 weeks. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.